So I'm going to move on to the little essay that I prepared for today, which leads into another kind of awareness game. And it's about metaphors. And I noticed that metaphors are really great for helping point us in the direction of the background of awareness. But all metaphors crash and burn eventually. And analogies do too. But it doesn't mean they're not useful until they do. But how come they always sort of don't go far enough or crash and burn? It's because they're made of words. And words can't depict reality exactly. Reality is just one thing. It's not really a thing, it's a thingless thing. It's just energy waving in different apparent forms. Nothing is separate from anything else except in appearance. There's only one thing, the universe making waves of forms that rise, fall back into the infinite ocean of universal energy. But words are thoughts, words are concepts, words are mind. And the nature and purpose of words and concepts is to distinguish one thing from another. It's a totally useful tool to help an organism stay alive by deciding between, let's say, what's food and what's poison. It's a useful tool for any apparent organism that sort of wants to stay organized as an entity. And the mind is made up of these words and concepts. So I call it the organ of separation. But since there's only one thing going on, all the separation is only apparent. It's only in the mind. There isn't really separation. And so words and concepts can't really describe ultimate reality. But what they can do is they can point in the general direction of ultimate reality. Unless they're analyzed to a great degree or taken too literally. Or you put them through the mental meat grinder of logic, that's when they fall apart. But the ultimate reality of oneness can actually flavor the mind, can waft its perfume back towards the mind. You can get a sense of this unity of being through our own sense of being, our background awareness in which all things appear. And the classic metaphor is the finger pointing to the moon. A spiritual teaching is like a finger pointing to the moon. It should not be mistaken for the moon itself. Once your attention is directed towards the moon, no need to dwell on the finger. And I mentioned the classic analogy of the wave in the ocean. Our individual bodies and minds are temporary forms, just like a wave is simply a temporary form that rises from the ocean. It's never apart from the ocean. It's made of ocean. And it falls back into the ocean once the life of its form is over. So that brings me to an analogy that occurred to me recently. I call it the river delta. So it's often confusing. We think, how can awareness be universal, and yet we only know the content of our individual minds, not the content of other minds? How can both be true? So maybe this analogy will be helpful. So at the mouth of a river, where the fresh water empties into the salty ocean water, there's often a large area, a delta or an estuary, where the river water meets the seawater. So imagine this is a large area with multiple streams and rivers from various sources all flowing into the ocean. So in our analogy, The delta is our individual mind. And the ocean is the background of pure awareness. The delta only receives water from the rivers as they deposit sediment through that's brought from upstream. It's one-way traffic. The water is flowing from upriver through the delta out into the ocean. The delta isn't receiving water flowing back from the ocean. So the delta is like our individual mind. The content is flowing from the outside world via our sense perceptions, and it flows one way, from the world through our minds and out into the ocean of awareness. And it leaves some sediment in the form of memories. And so our individual minds are only aware of this one-way traffic, the perceptions and the sensations and the memories that they deposit. But all of those thoughts and memories and perceptions are witnessed by awareness itself, which is apart from our finite minds. And this ocean of awareness is the ocean that we actually all share. So sometimes, as in an estuary, there's brackish water. It's a mixture of river water and salt water. So there's a taste of the sea present in the river mouth. Waft of sea breeze in the air. We can get that taste, that breeze of the ocean of awareness when we take our focus off of the one-way flow of our thoughts and just drop back into the pure awareness that receives it all. We can create a two-way flow between the delta of our individual minds and the ocean of universal awareness. So that's why a meditative practice, like a practice that encourages quiet and stillness, can evoke a sense of oneness, because we're calming down that powerful rushing flow of sediment and letting some of that sea breeze waft in. And it feels lovely. So you can try this for yourself. So try this. This is an exploration of the river delta metaphor. So imagine your mind as a river delta. The activities of the world are upstream, and the awareness of the world is the ocean downstream. Your mind is the delta in between. Imagine the input from the world, the sights and the sounds, and the sensations and the smells and the tastes, as a one-way flow through your mind, flowing downriver into the vast awareness in which all thoughts, all sensations and perceptions appear. If it helps, you can imagine the streams and rivers flowing towards you from the front and then flowing out to the sea of awareness behind you. And as you imagine that flowing stream, see if you can imagine the stream calming down. As you turn your attention back towards the ocean of awareness, you're taking your attention away from that stream, and it's becoming quieter, less turbulent. And you feel yourself gently, quietly floating down into the ocean of awareness that receives it all. The awareness that you are. And then imagine that the ocean of awareness, like the oceans of the earth, is connected to all the oceans. One interconnected world ocean. It's an ocean of love because it knows it's all one ocean. Now imagine that the flow of thought is quieting just enough so that the ocean's saltiness can flavor the delta of your mind. And of course, it's just a metaphor. It's going to crash and burn sometime, but you use your imagination to imagine the ocean of awareness and see if you can look out at the world from that ocean of awareness and be it. But because awareness has no qualities, you can't really see it. You can only be it. But now we can be it knowingly. We can just know and look out from awareness itself and feel its lovely, allowing, loving, choiceless okayness. So feel free to open your eyes if they were closed again or not. But I'm going to take a look at a question from Devayani. I hope you don't mind that the question is about when you're agitated by something and someone's thoughts, or you're agitated by someone else's thoughts or words, and often becoming present or relaxed takes time. Is there any game to get relaxation and awareness quickly? And I think that's absolutely fabulous. First-rate question. So there's a couple of answers. One general and some specific ones. The general one is that when you play around with shifting to the background of awareness often enough, you find it can happen like that. It's just sort of like practice. But there are a couple of things that you can do quickly and specifically. One of my favorite ones is when there's an emotion. Usually an emotion will get triggered if there's somebody says something you don't like, or there's a situation you don't like and you feel that emotion triggered. And usually whatever strategy you have to try and get rid of the emotion is not going to work. It's usually going to backfire. It's just going to create resistance, and it's going to create little tensions, and then that little emotion is going to spin around in an endless eddy within you, and it can't just flow in one side and out the other. So a real quick way is to inhale the emotion. Oh, there's an emotion. Inhale it. bring the emotion into you. And the reason this is good is because you're not trying to get rid of it. But the inhaling relaxes at the same time. You just say, okay, it's there. You inhale it. And you don't have to even try to exhale the emotion, because that might give you the idea that you're trying to get rid of it. You're not trying to get rid of it. You're totally letting it to be there, but you're saying, okay, you can be here, and you're relaxing the clutching, because it's actually the resistance to what's happening that causes suffering, not the actual happening. It's not the pain or the emotion or the trauma or the trouble that's causing suffering. It's the sense that it shouldn't be here, that it shouldn't be happening. And when you inhale it, you're saying, it's here. One of my teachers, Stuart Schwartz, has another quick way. He said, anger is here. Take a breath. Anxiety is here. Take a breath. And one more awareness game. I call it include, include, include. And I find this so, so helpful. I call it the game for difficult emotions, although you can play it even when you're feeling good. And it's just simply include as much as what's going on. Because when you have an emotion, it wants your attention. It says, hey, pay attention to me. Forget about anything else. I'm important here. Me, me, me. It wants all of your attention. So say, okay, fine. For a moment, I'm going to allow you to be here. I'm not going to try and get rid of you. But you ask, what else is here? What else is in my awareness? I hear sounds. Include the sounds in your awareness. So you have the emotion in your awareness, and you have sounds in your awareness. What else is here? I can feel my butt against the chair. It's a sensation. Include that in awareness. So you've got your emotion, you've got the sounds, you've got the sensation of your butt. What else is in awareness? I smell something. Look around. I can see my bookshelf. It's in awareness. Include it in awareness. So include, 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 and include more, and include everything. And what happens is two things. A, when you're just including what's happening, you're focused on the here and now, not the past, not the future, what's appearing now. And second of all, that nasty little emotion that you thought you didn't want gets smaller and smaller and smaller in proportion to everything that's in awareness now. And you can do it really quickly. Include sounds in awareness. Include my body sensations in awareness. Include what I see in awareness. It's all there. Include, include, include. If anyone has any questions, again, feel free to pop them in or raise your hand or shout out, or else I'll just sort of plow on to some more games and meditations. Next one I call the lace of thought. And it's just another metaphor. Because thought obscures that pure awareness that we are, that background. Thought can just sort of like get in the way of it because it narrows our attention down to that one little thing instead of expanding it out to the background. So visualize your thoughts as lace. And imagine that there are spaces through which the background can be seen. Like if you have lace, there's a lot of holes in it. If you're looking through lace, say on a tabletop, you can actually see the background of the tabletop through the little holes in the lace. And if you move the lace around, you draw attention to the lace, but you notice that the background can still be seen as the lace moves around. Background could be seen through the holes in the lace. It's the same with thought. It's the constant movement of thought that draws attention to the thought. And it seems we can only see that interwoven web of thoughts in the foreground. But actually, the background is always visible. Even through thought, the background of awareness is always there. You can notice it through the holes in the thought, through the little spaces, maybe in between the sentences of the words that are going through your mind, that little voice in your head. You can imagine moving the lace aside and looking at the background. If a thought comes in, you can imagine, let's say, moving the thought aside. There's the background in which the thought appears. Can I look through the thoughts and still see the background? You don't have to get rid of the lace in order to know that the background is there. And you don't have to get rid of thoughts to see that the background of awareness is always there. So although it's easier to see the background when the lace is still, with a little practice, you can always see the background, no matter what's happening in the lace of thought. Thoughts appear. They appear in the background of awareness. Notice the background. Don't worry about getting rid of the thoughts. The background's always there. Now, one little extra credit sort of game of imagination. You're seeing the background through the lace. Move to the other side of the lace so that you're becoming the background, looking out through the lace at the world. And then just remove the lace and see the world as it is. When they talk about clear seeing, that's what they're talking about. Just being the clear awareness in which everything appears and seeing it as it is now, without the filters of past and present. Without the filters of the past and the future. The remembered past, the imaginary future, it's all mind. It all appears in the ever-present now of awareness. I call it now, here, this. I have a question here that says, I have an unresolved grief that drags me to depression for almost 2 years. I feel numb to the world. Tips to surrender? Yeah, I love that question. And I totally feel where you're coming from. Because depression is such a nasty and difficult and thorny thing to overcome. But here's the thing about depression. We think depression is a feeling, is another emotion. Like there's anger, there's anxiety, there's sadness, there's grief, there's depression. But it's not. Depression is in a class all by itself. Depression isn't an emotion. Depression is a strategy. It's a strategy to not feel grief, anger, anxiety, sadness. It's a way of turning down our experience of our emotional life. And emotions are chemicals coursing through the body. All emotions are chemical reactions in the body. So when we feel depressed, we feel tired and listless, and we feel numb to the world. And yes, of course you will feel numb to the world, because depression is a strategy to numb yourself to those emotions. And you have to actually have the emotions. You have to allow the emotions to be there. But you take them little by little. Maybe start with a little emotion, and you know, throughout the day you can do this. Okay, I feel angry because someone's using the washing machine and I want to use it. Okay, how do I get rid of that emotion? Instead of asking how do I get rid of the emotion, you say, what is this emotion? Can I just for a few seconds allow it to be here? Can I notice it? Can I look at it? Can I ask myself, where do I feel it in the body? My chest area, my stomach. And what is this emotion appearing in? You just shift your attention to the background of awareness in which the emotion appears. And you probably have to do this with the easier ones, but little by little, you can get used to short-circuiting that automatic thing of, oh, I have an emotion, I don't want to feel it, numb myself, to, oh, I have an emotion. Where do I feel it? What does it look like? What color is it? And most important of all, in what does it appear? And if you find yourself having difficulty allowing an emotion, remember that you don't have to allow it. All you have to do is notice that there's something within you that already allows it. Awareness is totally already okay with it. It's just what's arising along with everything else. When I was, I was really depressed for a long time, and I had a therapist, and therapy did help, because when you're with a therapist, that's a person who totally accepts your emotions. It's totally okay to have emotions. So when you're with someone with whom it is totally okay to have emotions, that can really help. You can have them in a safe space. But for me, I didn't find that it went far enough, because he would just sort of sit there and wait for me to have emotions and not tell me how to, what to do, how to bring them up, how to notice them, how to look inside, how to see what part of the body they're in, and how to bring them to awareness. And awareness is the final answer. And it's so handy because it's always there. It doesn't fail. It's always available. And you can always bring whatever to awareness. And the other thing was, I was, if, your strategy is, it's just very tricky. If you do an awareness game or a meditation in order to get rid of the emotion, you're already sort of on the wrong track. You have to say, okay, I let go of my agenda, my strategy to change anything at all, just for a few minutes. Let go of whatever strategy you have to change anything. And the body is such a great tool. You know, I was raised in a religion where the body was shameful, and to have a lot of hang-ups. Plus, I was a chubby kid growing up and got teased, and not that I'm not chubby anymore, but it was just, the body was something to be ashamed of. But the body is so useful as a tool. So I have a couple of games. The next one, a couple of body games that I can share. One of them is just called Into the Body. So I'm going to run you through this one for a little bit. So if you want, you can close your eyes and get comfy and take some deep breaths. And gradually turn your attention from the outside world to your inner world. What's happening inside you? Just notice it. Notice what's happening inside, your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations. Your emotions. Now turn your attention away from the thoughts and emotions and turn it towards your actual physical sensations, the inner sense of your body. Feel your body from the inside. Notice any contractions or tensions you might be experiencing. Just notice them. No need to do anything about them, at least for now. And just scan your body from the inside, from head to toe. See if you can notice whatever sensations and experiences you're having. And see if you can notice them without labeling them with words in the mind. Just notice the pure sensation. Perhaps there's a tingling in your hands or your legs or somewhere. It's just pure sensation. Maybe there's a feeling of pressure or weight against the chair or the floor. So visualize these sensations as abstract, wordless patterns of experience. It's like a field of dots, or just some vibrating energy. Without labels, just sensation. And now notice the field of awareness in which all these patterns of sensations appear. And be that awareness that's noticing the sensations. Be what's noticing. Be awareness. Be. And there's one other very short body game that I'm going to introduce here. I just call it Who Has a Body? And this one just has two simple steps. First is think the thought, I have a body. Then ask yourself, who is this I that has a body? Those are the two steps. Just think the thought, I have a body. And then ask yourself, who is this I that has a body? And just a little elaboration on that. When we think, I have a hand, we don't think I am the hand. We're an I that has the hand. Who's the I that has a hand? It's the same with your whole body. Who is this I that has a body? You say my body. What's the I behind that my? Maybe you can imagine as a spaciousness that's bigger than, but includes your body. And that's just another sort of variation on self-inquiry. The who am I question of Ramana Maharshi, or the I am of Nisargadatta. It's just when I say I, notice something. What is this I? In other words, what notices my experience? And a little word about these questions, including the original who am I question, down to all the awareness game questions, like what notices my experience, etc. Who has a body? The goal is never to come up with an answer. It's the act of asking the question that shifts the attention. In Buddhism, sometimes they call it the half step back. It's that little shift of attention from the content of awareness to pure awareness itself. And it's all about that little shift. It's not about finding an answer. It's not about believing any metaphysical thoughts. For example, even if you don't believe we're all connected and there's only universal consciousness, you don't even have to believe that. You just have to play around with, well, what if? What if this I that sees everything is just the universe looking at itself? You don't have to believe it's true. You just have to play with it. That's why I call them awareness games. You can imagine also standing in front of yourself and watching yourself in your imagination. Or imagine you're sort of hovering above yourself and watching yourself. Or you can play Russian doll, another game where you imagine your body is this little Russian doll and it's inside another Russian doll that's a little bigger. And that one is inside another Russian doll that's a little bit bigger. And that body is in another body that's a little bit bigger. And that body is in another body that's a little bigger. And you can just keep expanding and expanding to infinity, because the container, the ultimate container in which all these little Russian dolls are in, is nothing you can name, nothing you can describe, nothing you can put a word to, nothing you can see, nothing you can conceive of. It just is pure being, its beingness itself. So how's everybody doing? Any questions, observations, comments?
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I don't know how to work the chat. But anyway, I always get hung up, and I think you kind of answered it, but trying to get into the awareness. It's like, how do I do that?
Mm-hmm.
It's that brings up the question. Then I start my mind saying, well, if you do this, this will happen. You're doing this, so this isn't happening now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That doing this so that this will happen is a little tricky. Although I found that doing this happens. In other words, when I turn my attention to awareness, I feel this causeless happiness bubble up for no reason. And so it does seem to be a cause and effect. And yet, when I try to make that happiness bubble up, because I'm trying to do it because I'm not feeling it now, then not. It doesn't want to do it. I have to sort of, it's like, you have to sort of like, okay, whatever is happening. But about awareness, there are some questions that you can ask. Like, for example, if I ask you, are you aware right now?
Yes.
How do you know? Where did you go to find out the answer? The correct answer, yes. Where did you go to find that out?
See, there you got me.
Right. But you went there. So perhaps you might be thinking of it as being more difficult than it is, because when you ask, am I aware? Am I aware now? Huh. Yeah, I am. You automatically go to awareness.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like the whole awakening thing. I already am awake,
Uh-huh.
but you know, I don't believe that.
Right. I know it's hard to believe.
Also, what happened is you immediately knew you were aware. You didn't have to go to thought.
Right. Yes.
He asked the question, the answer came.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Didn't have to go to thought. Knew you were aware. And another one is, could I not be aware?
No.
But the thing about waking up, and this is, I mean, I certainly, you know, throughout this entire search, I've been fascinated by, people talking about awakening and becoming enlightened and all of that stuff. And it's all great. And I don't put any of that down, but there's a built-in problem to that, a built-in obstacle, in that it's always this thing that's going to happen to me in the future.
Right.
And just that very idea is sort of like prevents it.
Yeah.
Whereas awareness is here now. It's already awake. It's not necessarily that you are already awake, the body, mind, personality. Let's call that the little me.
Right.
Not necessarily that that's always awake, but the awareness in which it appears, let's call that big I,
Yeah.
is already awake. So little me might not be, but little me appears in big I, and big I, the big I of awareness, is it's already awake. It's already okay with everything. It's already loving. It's Satchidananda, usually translated as being, consciousness, bliss. I just call it the joy of being awareness. It's already there. We just don't notice it. And the way to notice it is to just turn our attention from all that stuff about the past and all that stuff about the future.
No, no, no.
No. Now, here, this.
Yeah. Great.
Kristen says, I was aware that my mind, ego, was stating, I do. I have a body. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Because yes, absolutely, that's the answer your mind comes up with. Like, who has a body? Or who is aware of my experience? Well, I do, or I am. And yeah, that's the natural answer. Then the next step is, well, what is this I? What is this me? And then you look. Some people say you can't find it. And in one sense, that's true, because it's not an it. Because it has no qualities of its own. It's clear, blank, like mirror-like, open, infinite field of awareness. Has no qualities, so how can you see it? That's why I say you can't see it, you can only be it.
Mm-hmm.
How if I make myself dull or kind of sleepy because I'm trying to, ignore something, basically, it's like a pseudo version of it, but it's kind of similar because I'm not thinking then. I'm like too sleepy to think. Or yeah, it's just funny how it's similar, but it's totally different.
It is similar when you sort of, like too sleepy to think. Or what if all the thoughts in your head were in a foreign language that you didn't even know?
That's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
So you couldn't form concepts about it. I don't know, Matt. I think that sort of sleepy thing that might be a clue.
Oh, I'm Tomasic as heck, man.
Well, what's tamasic? I'm not sure. I don't know that word.
So I'm gonna use more words that I can't define. The two gunas in Indian philosophy, which I wish I could be more specific, are tamasic and rajasic. And tamasic would basically be lazy, and rajasic would be manic.
Oh,
In my thinking, and both are like avoidances and coping strategies.
yeah, right. Well, Tom is my middle name, so I'm Tomasic.
Ah,
That's how I'm lazy. And it's not so. I mean, I'm certain it's not that I don't work hard when I have something I really love to do. I certainly do. But you know, like when it came to meditation, I had a hard time saying, okay, what I'm going to do is from, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning, I'm going to meditate for an hour and I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch this candle flame or count my breaths or whatever. And I found myself that I was just really bad at that. And I was despairing. Say, oh my God, how am I ever going to become enlightened if I can't even do that? If I can't, and then I realized that, especially when Locke Kelly, who was another one of my teachers, said small moments many times a day. I said, oh, yeah, if this is something that's already there and I can just tap into it at a moment's notice, maybe I don't have to despair that I don't have this discipline to focus and do this meditation for 2 hours every day and try and create some state that I want to be in. And so things start to sort of ease up after I sort of accepted my laziness, my Tomasicness.
man, I really enjoy how you talk about the. You point out how subtle and sneaky the trying to get rid of something, trying to get rid of a feeling or a thought is, and all the disciplines that one might try to do. Oh man, there's probably that sneaky little resistance in there that, man, it's really really profound. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for saying that. So yeah, it's true. And some wise people describe meditation as not trying to create a meditative state, but simply doing nothing to change your experience. It was the silence after the word simply that did it, right?
Yeah. I'm not trying to go like, oh, you need to be more progressive path or something. I was just really interested in how yeah, no, literally, as soon as I started the first thing I said, I started to get progressive path. Like, it's really hard to avoid.
It is.
And I didn't want to.
Right.
That wasn't my intention.
Sure.
Oh, man.
But you're right. It's tricky. It's so tricky. The mind wants to fix stuff. But you see, that's its job. That's what it's designed to do, to find out what's wrong and fix it. And we apply that to the spiritual path. Find out what's wrong and fix it. And it's counterintuitive, but it's the opposite that needs to be done. It's find out what's already okay and just be that.
I love it. Are these sessions recorded?
I did record this one, but I forgot to record it at the beginning, so I started late, so I missed I didn't record the intro. Is that okay?
Yeah.
What I do is I usually stick them up on YouTube after a day or two. It takes a while, and then I'll put a link on to that up on send it on Meetup to everyone who RSVP'd.
Okay. Perfect.
If you want to catch them again, yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this. I mean, I just found it very enlightening.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad you could join us. I love seeing all these faces in Zoom. It reminds me of that another great metaphor of the screen. Like we have, like a dozen different pictures on the screen, and they all seem like different things. But if you run your finger along the screen, you don't feel, any difference between them. It's all just sort of one thing. And like awareness is like that. It's like that screen. A bunch of stuff looks like different people, different things, different stuff is appearing in it, but it's just one awareness. It's just that one field. It's just so. That's my perhaps not too, not very well formed, but my parting metaphor.
Well, the thing is, if awareness is everything, it can't be personal. And yet, when we're trying to get to awareness, it is kind of a personal thing, isn't it? Awareness is aware of me.
Yeah.
And how can it be aware of 2 trillion other people at the same time?
It's like you've got 4 different Mars rovers roving around Mars, taking soil samples and sending data back. You think you're the Mars rover, you're mission control.
Oh, good. I like the control.
Oh, not in that sense. Oh, no, not in the control freak sense, but no. Yeah, you're so you really, I mean, the individual Mars rover doesn't know what's going on in the computer brain of the other Mars rover. Just like this finger doesn't really, if I rub this cheek with this finger and my glasses with that finger, this finger doesn't feel the glasses. It doesn't know, but down the hand and through the arm and into the brain, it experiences both fingers simultaneously. And that's universal awareness, looking out through billions of eyes simultaneously. We just don't notice it because we're so caught up in the mind stuff. But when that quiets down, we create a little wormhole back to that universal awareness, and it can sort of send its feeling. But the problem is that universal's awareness's information that it sends back to us isn't conceptual. It isn't in words, it isn't in ideas, it isn't in concepts, it isn't in what the brain knows. It's very hard to describe, but it's like a perfume that wafts in. It's like this sense of love and oneness that can sort of waft in and infiltrate your brain. Sometimes words are like impossible. They just don't do it, but we try.
Well, I just assumed that loving stuff, I could feel that. I don't need any more words.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Love is what it's all about. Love is the true nature. Love is the basic. Everything else is just stuff that we add on that temporarily obscures it.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, Barbara and Aaron and Luz. I don't know, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing Javier. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing all the names right, but thank you so much for joining. I hope you had fun, and any parting words? Anyone?
Just thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll see you next time. I'll probably in a month or two, I'll put something up on Meetup. No, less than 2. In 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. You're on. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.